Hello, bonjour, bienvenidos, benvenuti, welcome to the Music Polyglot channel. Now, this being the Music Polyglot channel, you'll find good quality subtitles down there. Today, we're going to have a look at Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo. There's plenty of videos out there showing you the chords, so what we are going to do, as we often do in the Music Polyglot channel, we're going to try to get as close as possible to the original recording. In the original song, obviously, there's no guitar, there's a piano part, so we are going to try to get as close as possible to that original piano part, but on guitar. Now, if you, my friend, if you are a professional player or a very advanced guitarist, that was all you needed to know. That's all there is to the video, so you can go get him, Tiger. For the rest of us, let's break things down in a close-up. Okay, so let's begin by having a look at those verses. The first thing is that you're going to need a capo on the 3rd fret. So there it goes. Make sure that it's close to the fret, but not touching it. Make sure that it's all the way in, and make sure that there's no buzzing. Perfect. Now let me play it for you so that you can see it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, as you can see, we have 3 chords. The first chord is G major, and this is the G with the ring finger on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. 3rd fret relative to the capo. When you have a capo, you always count your frets relative to the capo. So that version of the G, as you could probably tell, I'm not actually fretting with the index because, as you could also probably tell, this is a finger picking pattern, so we're not going to need it, right? So you can just play the G without the index. The second chord is E minus 7, right? For which you just need to leave the ring and the pinky fingers in place and move down to an E minus 7. You could probably tell that I wasn't actually fretting these 2 fingers either, and that's because we're not going to play those 2 strings. So you could just as well, from the G, just take that bass note off. You're going to be playing a low E bass note, and then the top 3 strings. So you don't need strings 4 and 5. Right? That way it's more efficient. And the third chord is C add 9. And again, you might have noticed that I wasn't fretting the index, and that's again because I'm not going to be playing that string. Okay, so this one is just like the C add 9, just in case you don't remember it. It's just like the G, but your bass note is on the 5th string instead of the 6th. You actually don't want to hit the 6th at all. Now, having said that with the shapes, if you find that going to the actual full shapes helps you remember it or helps you play it, by all means, just, go from a full G to a full E minus 7 and a full C add 9. That's absolutely fine. I will be showing it to you in this kind of efficient way without using fingers that you don't need to have involved. Now let's talk about the rhythm. The rhythm is actually quite simple here. It's divided in 8th notes, and it goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be playing the bass note with the thumb, plus the top 3 strings with the index, middle, and ring fingers. We're going to be playing those at the same time on 1 and 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and on every other quaver or 8th note, we're going to be playing just the top 3 strings. So this gives you 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Same pattern on the E minor. 2 and bass and 4. Same pattern on the C add 9. And then you're back 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for one last bar at the end, back to the G. Now this is actually quite important to remember that you end on one bar of G, but then you have to start the next sequence on G as well. So make sure that you keep count so you don't play too many Gs. That's the pattern for the verses. Let's move on to the choruses and let me play it for you once so that you can see what's going on. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so the picking pattern changes and so do the chords. Let's have a look at the chords first. So first we have a C major 7. So this is just like a C major, but taking the index off. C major 7. Second chord is actually just a G, right? It would be a normal G. Now this one is the G without the second string, so without the ring finger on the second string. So this more kind of smaller G, if you will. Now again, you might have noticed that because I'm not playing the top strings or the A string for that matter, all I actually need to fret is my bass note. I have the index on the D string, the middle finger on the G string, and the ring finger on the B string, okay? And they're going to be there throughout this pattern in the choruses. And now moving on to the actual picking pattern. So something remains the same if you compare it to what we had in the verses. And that's that we're going to have that bass note on 1 and 3. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, here in the choruses, we're also going to have the middle finger, which is going to be your open G string in this case. We're going to have those played together with the bass note on 1 and 3 as well. So essentially you have 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that throughout. Same thing on the G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll notice that the note on the G string actually changes, but we're focusing on the right hand right now in that picking pattern. Important to realize that you do have those two fingers playing at the same time on 1 and 3. So let me play you that pattern, that picking pattern, really slowly a couple of times so that you can see and hear it. 3 and 4 and... Okay, so that's going to be the pattern. So that's on 1 we have thumb and middle, 1. On and we have the index. Remember that the index is going to be on the D string, so 1 and. On 2 we're going to have the ring finger, which is on the B string. So far 1 and 2. On the and of 2 we're going to have the index again. So you have 1 and 2 and. On 3, as we said, we're going to have the middle and thumb together again. And that's the actual pattern. And then it just repeats. So on the and of 3, we're going to have the index. So 1 and 2 and 3 and. On 4, we're going to have the ring finger, 4. On the and of 4, we're going to have, right? So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I suggest that you practice this pattern until it becomes second nature now, because it's going to be the same fingering pattern throughout the choruses. And if you don't have to think about the right hand, that will give you headspace to think about the chord changes that I'll show you in a second. For the G, the same finger picking pattern. Now the chords move internally, which is what we'll get to now. Going back to that C major 7, during the first bar, it's all nice and no movement. But then, 1. So that's thumb and middle on 1, as we had before. Then the index on the and of 1. So we have 1 and. Then we're going to go for the middle finger again. And now we're going to be adding the index finger of the left hand on the 2nd fret of the G string, of the 3rd string. That gives us an A relative to the capo, right? So we have 1 and 2. And then we go back to the index. On 3, instead of having middle and thumb, we're going to have ring and thumb. And then the index again. So 1 and 2 and 3 and. And on 4, we're going to have our index on the left hand completing the C major shape. And then the index one more time. Okay, so you get that melody that's ascending from G, A, B, C. And then you move down to the G major chord. So again, we start with middle and thumb, then index, and then ring. So 1 and 2, index, and. Then we add the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the G string to get that A. So we had 1 and 2 and 3. So on 3, we're going to be playing that new note together with the bass note. The bass note is always there on 1 and 3. So 1 and 2 and 3. On the and of 3, index again, and then ring finger. And then index again. So you have 1 and 2 and 3 here. So you can very softly take it off. You don't actually want to create noise, right? Or just gently release the pressure so that it doesn't continue to ring out. Then we repeat that sequence. C major 7, 1 bar of normal, then this ascending line. And then we have E minor. And we're going to strum that gently with the thumb. Now you don't need to strum all 6 strings. If you catch the bottom 3 or 4, that's more than you need. So E minor to D. Then all you need to do is to take the index down to the 5th string, that's the A string, from the 3rd where it was. Again, make sure that with the thumb, you strum gently and you only catch the bottom 3 strings of your chord. This is actually a G over B. Then you go back to the D and you finish on a C at 9. And that's 1 chord on each beat. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, you let that C add 9 ring out for the whole bar after. Then you gently strum on an A minor for 2 beats, and then a D major, full D major for 2 beats, and then G for the whole next bar. So in terms of the rhythm, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, A minor, 4, 1, to D major, 3, 4 to G, 1, 2, 3. Now, after the first chorus, you go back for another verse, but after the second chorus, you have a bridge, which goes on like this. I'll play it for you from the end of the chorus so that you can see how it connects. 2, 3, 4, 8. 2, 3. Okay, so the first thing we need to look at is that little synth line that leads into the bridge. So at the end of the previous chorus, you're going to land on a G major. And previously we held that for the whole bar. Now we're just going to hold it 3 beats, so 1, 2, 3. And on 4, we play for E in terms of the rhythm, right? So that's just the low E string on the 3rd fret and then down to the index on the 2nd fret. So, and I suggest that you actually think about that as strumming. We're going to switch to strumming for the bridge. So you can think of that line as it being strummed so that it sounds stronger. Now, obviously, you want to make sure that you only get the bottom string to ring out and not the rest of the chord, right? So you're going to do that by restraining your strumming, not taking it all the way down, but just restraining it to the bottom string. And then we land on that E minus 7. Now, this is a full E minus 7. You need to have all 4 fingers down. So that's just like your E minor, plus the other 2 fingers that were on the high, on the top 2 strings, E and B strings, right? And here, we're just going to be strumming everything. We're going to be strumming 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and all those quavers or 8th notes, and we're going to be accenting the beat. So 1 and 2 and 1 bar on E minus 7, then we move on to C at 9, 1, 2, then G, and then D major, and then we play the sequence again, E minus 7, accenting the beat, C at 9, G, and then D major. Okay. When you're strumming here, just make sure that you are careful about how many strings you should be strumming on your different chords, right? E minus 7, you definitely want to be hitting the open E, because that's the bass note. On the C at 9, on the other hand, you don't want to be hitting the low E string at all. On the G again, you want to strum all 6 strings. And on the D, this is actually the most delicate one. You only want to be strumming the top 4. So you don't want to be playing the A string or the low E string, just the top 4. And after the bridge, we have a last chorus, which is actually a breakdown chorus that will then take us out to the end of the tune. That one goes like this. It's the same chords, but they're played slightly differently. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the rhythm, it's all minims or half notes, which means that our chords are going to last for 2 beats each. So the first one is going to be a C major triad. So this is just like a C major chord, but you're only going to be plucking, because we're finger picking, right? So the thumb on the bass note, index on the D string, and the middle finger on the open G string. You're just going to be playing those 3 notes, which is just a C major triad. We let that ring out for 2 beats, so 1, 2, then your middle finger, you're going to drop it 1 string to the G string 2nd fret and add your index onto the 2nd fret of the D string where your middle finger was. Okay. This is a C6. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then on the right hand, you add your ring finger to your picking. You go back to a C major 7 shape. And now you pluck all 4 strings at the same time. Also 2 beats, and then you add the index to complete your C major shape for another 2 beats. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you move down to your G. And on 1, we're going to be playing the bass note with the thumb as usual. And index and middle fingers on the right hand are going to be playing strings 3 and 4. So open G and open D together. And we let that ring out for 2 beats. 1, 2, 3. On 3, all we need to do is to add the middle finger on the left hand, the middle finger, finger 2, on the 2nd fret of the G string, which will give us G at 9. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And on 4, with the ring finger on our right hand, we're going to play the open B string. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you get the same sequence as before. That tag at the end of the chorus is E minor, D, to G over B, back to D, and then C at 9, 3, 4. Then you have the A minor, again for 2 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, for the D major, and then G. Then that last sequence will repeat. So back to the A minor. This is the very end. D, and the song ends on E minor. So it doesn't end well. It ends on a sad note. So there we have it. Well, I hope that was enjoyable. If it was, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Also hit that bell button so that you get notified when more videos come up. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to get to all of them as quickly as I can. If you're after tabs or sheet music, that and a lot more is available to all my Patreons on my Patreon page. I'll leave you the link in the description below. And if you would like a one-on-one free video call lesson on this tune, all you need to do is to contact me through my website in the description below and we'll arrange that. This being the Music Polyglot channel, you can have your lesson in English, Spanish, French or Italian. Thank you for staying till the end and I'll see you next time. Hasta la próxima, arrivederci, au revoir.